Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. We're all about those current affairs topics that could pop up on your UPSC exams, and today we've got a really interesting one.
It definitely is.
So we're going to be talking about Ukraine's mineral wealth. Now, before you tune out thinking, oh, minerals, how boring, let me tell you this. This story has got some serious geopolitical juice.
Yeah,
We're talking potential for global power shifts, resource wars, the whole nine yards.
absolutely. And it's all stemming from a recent statement by former U.S. President Trump.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He claimed that Ukraine promised the U.S. 50% of its mineral resources. 50%, that's a pretty bold claim, isn't it?
It is, and to really unpack this, we need to first understand why these minerals are such a big deal.
Okay, yeah, let's get into that. So we're talking about minerals, but what kind of minerals? What's all the fuss about?
Well, these are the minerals that essentially underpin modern technology. We're talking about things like lithium for batteries, rare earth elements for electronics, titanium for, all sorts of high-tech applications. And these aren't just important for smartphones and laptops. They're also essential for things like renewable energy technologies, military hardware, you name it.
Wow, okay, so this is about way more than just some rocks in the ground.
Exactly. And it's important to understand the terminology here, especially for our UPSC aspirants. You'll often hear the terms rare earth elements and critical minerals used, but they don't mean exactly the same thing.
Okay, what's the difference?
So rare earth elements are a specific group of 17 elements, and as the name suggests, they're not as abundant as other minerals. They have unique properties that make them essential for a lot of high-tech applications.
Okay, so they're rare but important.
Right. Now, critical minerals is a broader category. Different countries define which minerals are critical based on their own economic and security needs. It's essentially about which minerals are crucial for their development and self-reliance.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's like a national security thing.
Yeah, in a way it is. A country needs to have secure access to these critical minerals, whether it's through domestic production or reliable trade partners.
Right, so India, for example, has its own list of 30 critical minerals, right?
Exactly, and those minerals are crucial for India's growth and technological advancement.
Okay, that's interesting. So back to Ukraine and this supposed deal with the U.S. What exactly did Trump claim was promised?
Well, according to him, Ukraine owed the U.S. a whopping $500 billion worth of resources. And it wasn't just minerals. He included things like fuel, infrastructure, ports and pipelines, the whole shebang.
500 billion. Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, it is. And, to put that into perspective, the total U.S. military aid to Ukraine since 2014 is around $69.2 billion.
Okay, so a big difference there. So basically, Trump was saying that Ukraine owed the U.S. a lot more than what was actually given in aid, and that this debt included access to these minerals.
Yeah, that seems to be the gist of it. It's like he was viewing the economic stakes as a form of security guarantee. If you're heavily invested in a country, you're more likely to defend it.
That's an interesting way to look at it. But what about Ukraine's side of this? Did they actually agree to this deal?
Well, that's where things get a little murky. There's no evidence that Ukraine ever formally agreed to hand over 50% of its resources.
And even if they wanted to, could they even legally do that?
That's a great question, and that's where the legal side of things gets complicated. See, Ukraine's constitution states that its subsoil resources belong to the people.
Oh, okay, so the government can't just make deals giving away these resources without considering the people.
Exactly. It would involve a complex legal process, and it's unlikely that something like giving away 50% of the country's mineral wealth would be easily accepted.
Yeah, that makes sense. But even beyond the legal hurdles, I imagine there are other practical challenges to figuring out this whole mineral situation in Ukraine.
Absolutely, there are several. For starters, the data we have on Ukraine's mineral reserves is largely based on old Soviet-era surveys.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, so the information isn't exactly up-to-date or comprehensive. We don't really have a clear picture of how much of these minerals are actually there, where they're located, or how easily accessible they are.
So we're dealing with a lot of unknowns here.
Right. And then there's the fact that in 2021, Ukraine entered into a strategic partnership with the European Union on raw materials.
Oh, right. I remember reading about that.
So any deal with the U.S. would have to take this existing agreement into consideration.
Yeah, that definitely adds another layer of complexity. And of course, we can't talk about Ukraine without addressing the elephant in the room, the ongoing conflict with Russia.
Absolutely. That's a major factor here. A significant portion of Ukraine's mineral reserves, especially those rare earth elements, are located in territories that are currently under Russian control.
Oh, so even if Ukraine wanted to, they might not have full access to all of their mineral wealth right now.
Exactly. And the situation is very fluid, with recent reports suggesting that Russian forces are moving closer to a key lithium deposit.
Wow, so the stakes are just getting higher.
They are, and it's a reminder that the control of these resources can have a major impact on the course of the conflict.
So we've gone from a seemingly simple statement about a deal to a really complex web of economic interests, legal hurdles, and geopolitical tensions. This whole situation is a prime example of how seemingly isolated events can have ripple effects across the globe.
Exactly, and it highlights the importance of understanding the interconnectedness of geopolitics and resource management.
For our UPSC aspirants listening in, this Ukraine situation is a textbook example of something that could easily pop up in your prelims or mains exams. It's all about connecting the dots between international relations, regional security, and economic interests.
Absolutely. Understanding these dynamics is crucial for analyzing global events and formulating well-informed answers.
And if you're looking to dive deeper into this topic, the Indian Express article we're referencing is a great place to start. We'll link to it in the show notes below.
Yeah, definitely check it out.
As always, we'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Leave a comment below with any questions or insights you might have.
And be sure to subscribe and like the video to stay updated on all our future deep dives.
We'll see you in the next one.
See you then.